Hey viewers, my name's Cara. I'm your host for Tuesdays on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we are talking about offerings and how to make them. And by make, I don't mean create, I mean how to offer things. There are two questions today. The first one comes from Heracles. 1. How do you handle and do offerings to the gods, spirits, ancestors, and so forth? Furthermore, how do you properly handle disposing of offerings in a proper and respectful manner? Proper. These questions will be in the description, of course, so you can read the full text yourself. And the second question comes from LynnifferLeDoppel. I was wondering if you could explain to me how to properly pick a flower or other kind of plant. I feel so apprehensive when I see a clover or a flower and go to pick it. Do you need to use offering stones? What should you do in the meantime? Or what do you do if you don't have anything to offer? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you hear any background noise, I apologize. In my new living arrangement, there are people to either side of me. This is my room, but through that door is my cousin's house, and through that door is my grandma's house. See? So just please focus on what I'm saying. Hopefully it will be entertaining enough. The first question is, how do we handle and do offerings to gods, spirits, ancestors, and so forth? And I did not plan to talk about a distinction between those three things. I kind of do it the same way for all of them. I don't have a specific way that I offer to ancestors that's different than the way I offer to the gods. The only thing I've ever done differently in the past is how I dispose of them, but I'll get to that later. So let's start with things I have offered. I made a list. I have offered food, especially fruits, nuts, baked goods, anything that's appropriate for the ritual, drinks, water, wine, milk, juice, whatever is appropriate for the ritual, but I've only offered those 4 basic things. I have offered flowers. Artwork is something that I would consider an offering. Burning incense, burning candles, a reading of a poem, a singing of a song, a dance, thoughts or meditation time. I sometimes just offer up that time spent, and just heartfelt thanks. Just really saying thank you and really meaning it. So it depends on the circumstance what I would offer. I was thinking about it, and I think that when certain emotions overcome me during a working, I think I could consider that an offering as well. That's not a planned offering, but in the cases where something happens that makes me cry with joy, I would consider those tears an offering. When something strikes me and it's just so funny that I have to laugh at myself for not realizing it before, those cosmic slaps in the face type moments, I would consider my laughter an offering. So with all that types of things in mind, I have notes here, obviously. When it comes to giving the offering, there's only slight differences based on what the thing is. If it's food and drink, I partake of it myself, and then I give the rest of it or leave a little bit for the spirit, gods, ancestors, whatever it is. Set an equal portion aside for the offering. In most cases, it's a simple take a bite of the apple, take a sip of the wine, and then leave the rest of the apple or pour the rest of the wine into either the glass, leave it in the glass, or pour it on the ground. If it's something like flowers, I just present it and then I leave it there. If it's song, dance, poetry, etc., or something else non-physical, then it just happens and then it's over. Incense or candles, I just tend to burn throughout the working and I state that it's for an offering. Then I dispose of the incense ashes like I would any other offering, which I'll get to. Or for candles, if it's a tall candle that doesn't burn down all the way, I'll snuff it out and I'll save it for the next time that I want to do an offering to that same thing or for that same thing. Like the one candle that I always use to represent the universe. I started doing that over the summer and now I only use that candle to represent the universal energy. Or my 2 candles that I use for the god and goddess, I reuse them every time I do a ritual. When I showed you my altars before, I showed you I've been using the same candles since I started practicing. That's how quickly I burn them for a little bit and then they go out. So I don't personally like the idea of burying a candle after you've used it once. Like some spells, they'll tell you that you burn the candle and you bury the rest of it and you never think about it again. I don't like that. So I would just use it over and over for the same purpose to keep up that energy until it's all burnt out. Offering disposal depends on where I am. If I'm indoors, I leave the offerings on the altar, either in a bowl, on a plate, wherever, however it works, on the altar, until I'm done, and then I bring them outside later. I usually leave them somewhere in the woods for nature to consume, as Rich said in his video that he does with his. For Samhain 2011, which I celebrated with a small group, we buried the ancestors' portion of the food offerings in the ground. So it would go back to the earth directly, and then we tossed some extra apples into the woods for the animal parts of nature. If I'm already outside, I immediately set the food in an offering place, either on the ground, on a stone, in a tree branch, next to the tree, wherever it is. I would pour the drink immediately onto the ground or place the flowers. If it's something like a piece of art or another non-perishable, I would leave it on my altar indefinitely or otherwise keep it for use. I don't keep a permanent altar, so I might, if I get something that I want to have as an offering, I might pack it away and bring it out every time I want to do an offering to that deity, etc. There's a typo in my notes. I plan on posting these notes on my blog, so it's not going to be word for word what I'm saying in the video, but it'll go along with it if you want to read instead. It's pretty close, but I'm improvising a little in the video. If it's something that I did on paper, I would treat it like any other petition spell and either burn it or bury it. That's pretty much what I do with my written spells. So in the case of the Hecate ritual that I did, this isn't in my notes. I'll add this though for the blog. In the case of the Hecate ritual that I did with my friend's women's pagan study group, we offered different things to Hecate by writing them down, reading them out loud to the group, and then burning them in the cauldron. So, an example. Now, for the second question about collecting flowers, you guys probably know I do this quite a bit. I sometimes just do rituals that are all about flowers. I have a flower affirmation video on my personal channel, which you can check out. When I collect flowers for offerings, I just say thank you as I'm picking them. Sometimes I just say thank you. Other times I will give a little bit of water if I'm going on a walk with my water bottle with me. Sometimes I go back and leave an offering stone if it's in one specific location or if it's one plant that I go back to multiple times. Other times I'll just pick up litter from the area as a thank you to the earth for her gifts. And so, for example, at the old house, I would take a walk down to the lake near the house and I would pick flowers along the way. I would do my ritual there, and then on the way back up to my house, I would pick up litter and bring it back. My baby cousin, everyone. So to give you another example of how I used flowers, here is a picture from my Litha ritual. I don't like sharing stuff like that immediately, but it's been a while, and so in this case, I just put the flowers in the sand, had a little fun with it, did my ritual that way. Oh my goodness, it's so loud, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I don't have time to do this video later, so I'm sorry, you're gonna have to put up with that background noise. Bonus question. Someone commented on Rich's video yesterday, and I happened to see it, asking what he thinks about wasting things that are used for offerings. And as we both said, we put food outside for nature, so it's not really sitting around, it's not that kind of waste. But an offering is never really waste, because it has a purpose. You're giving it away. And so for me, if I were looking at something and thinking, oh, I don't want to give that as an offering because I don't want to waste it, then I'm really not offering it because I'm not thinking of it in the proper context to be offering it to deity or spirit or anything of that nature. Some things I do feel are a waste, like some people offer jewelry by burying it, for example. That's something that I would feel is a waste because that can be used for something else, and I wouldn't want to buy something just to bury it. To me, that's a little bit like impractical, and I feel weird about that because I know it's not really going back to the earth. So that's another reason I tend to use food or other things that can break down. Another thing I think is wasteful is, like I said, with the candles. So in that case, I reuse it until it's done, so I don't feel like I'm wasting my resources. So if you feel like anything is being wasted, you can probably come up with a way to do it so that you feel like you're using your resources to your best advantage. Or you can opt to offer things that you don't need to dispose of, like your words or actions, song and dance, music, etc. Really sorry about the background noise, you guys. I waited until Tuesday after work to record this, and I have to edit it and upload it right now to get it to you. And I have decided to go ahead and count up the subs votes tonight because I still have not gotten votes from 2 of my people, but it's been long enough. We've decided. I talked to the rest of the group, so I'm gonna add that up so we will inform the new people very soon and they can start working on preparing for subs week for you. So that's it for me until next week. Let us know in the comments what you like to offer or how you go about it. If you have any new ideas for people to try, we'd all be glad to hear it. Thank you very much for watching, or reading, if you read this on my blog, and until next time, blessed be, and goodbye. Thank you so much for your patience.